Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video because we are going to be talking about old favorite makeup items or old holy grail makeup products throughout my collection that have been replaced. I have seen this video done a couple of times for sure. I'm not sure who exactly I saw do it first. I know I saw Samantha Ravndal do it, and I believe I saw Julia Musicato do this as well. So I have both of their videos linked down below, and I'm sure if you search this style of video, there's probably plenty of others out there floating around. In case you're curious about what other beauty YouTubers have to say about favorite beauty items that have been replaced. So today I have 11 different products that were a favorite or a holy grail makeup item for me at one time or another, but I have found a product that I like better and have since replaced that product. Now that's not to say I don't use any of the products that used to be favorites of mine. In fact, most of them I still have in my collection and still really do enjoy, but there is a product that has replaced it. And it's like, you know, in the staircase in my heart, if that makes any sense. Anyway, if you guys are interested in this video, then stay tuned. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you consider doing so before you go. But other than that, let's just jump into the video. I straightened my hair today and then I just was not feeling it. So this is what you get today. And also my foundation does not match the situation of my body right now. I don't even know what color my body is because I have my self-tan like wearing off so weird in some spots. Anyway, you guys, let's just jump into some products that used to be favorites and have since been replaced, starting with a lip gloss formula. So about, wow, 4 years ago now, I think, in like 2016-ish, I used to believe I didn't like lip gloss really at all, and I really thought the only good lip gloss on the market, or the only lip gloss that I liked, was the Marc Jacobs what were these called? The Enamored High Shine lip glosses. I used to think this was like literally the only good gloss on the market, and I have mine only in the shade Sugar Sugar. There had been so many times where I almost purchased more shades, but this is an expensive lip gloss too, at like either $25 or $28. So I always restrained from buying more, but I wore this gloss all the time. In fact, I actually put it on my lips today over a few layered products to kind of just throw it back and reminisce on this old favorite. But this lip gloss formula has definitely been replaced by the Fenty Gloss Bomb. The Gloss Bomb is starting to come out with more and more shades. They obviously released with the one original shade, which I think is one of the most stunning lip gloss shades ever. No matter what is going on with my lips, I just put the original like universal shade on and I just love the effect that it gives. I purchased the like 5 set this holiday, 5 minis, and these are 2 of my favorites. So this one is in the shade Confetti, which is like this iridescent clear gloss with like a blue and purple shift. I don't even know if you'll be able to see the shift swatched on my hand. This was limited edition to that set, but this is pretty similar to Diamond Milk. Now, Diamond Milk is more of like an iridescent with like a silver shift to it, but kind of similar, and I have Diamond Milk and love that as well. And then I also love this shade. This is probably my newest favorite. This is in the shade Sweet Mouth. And I definitely prefer this one to Fussy. This is a little bit more of a pale pink tone to Fussy. This was what I thought and wanted Fussy to be. Fussy might be my least favorite shade in all of the Fenty Gloss formula, but Sweet Mouth has become permanent to the Fenty line, which is super exciting because when I finish this mini, I definitely will repurchase that one in the full size. But hands down, the Fenty Gloss formula definitely replaced the Marc Jacobs one for me. And even better, this comes with more product in the full size and it's only $18. All right, let's talk about powder. I was never much of a powder type of a gal because I am very dry, normal to dry, but like more dry than normal. But a powder that I used to really enjoy was the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I actually still do really like this powder. I'm almost done with it. This is going in my 20 in 2020 project, and I feel like I am nearing the end of this, which is super exciting. And I will not replace this. I will not repurchase this one because this has been replaced by my Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. Now, this is a very expensive powder, but this is also a super unique powder in that I feel like it does something that I have not found any other loose setting powder does for my skin, and that's that it leaves my skin with this healthy, natural looking glow, rather than a lot of powders just sort of like suck the life out of your face. Obviously a powder is going to mattify, is going to set, and is going to kind of absorb some of the oils of your skin, but this powder just leaves my skin just looking healthy and fresh still. And this really has made me start to enjoy powders. I used to despise powders, but this has made me want to dabble in other powders just to kind of see what's out there. So definitely the Hourglass Veil Translucent replaced the Too Faced Ethereal Setting Powder for me. Next, let's talk about primers, and you guys already probably know what the replacement favorite primer is because it has been a favorite primer of mine now for a couple of years. Like, this is a tried and true, has remained a favorite for years, but one of my old favorite primers was the Becca First Light Priming Filter. I also used to really enjoy the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. Both leave the skin with this beautiful sort of glossy effect. The Backlight Priming Filter is a little bit more artificial looking than the First Light, which is why the First Light used to be a favorite of mine. This has been replaced by the First Aid Beauty Coconut Skin Smoothing Priming Moisturizer. I absolutely love this primer. It smells like vacation. It feels very nourishing and hydrating on the skin, and it gives the skin this beautiful glow that doesn't look too artificial in my opinion. Like I said, this has been a favorite primer of mine for 2+ years now. A year and a half to 2+ years. I'm not sure the exact timing, but it's been years since this has remained a favorite. I also really love the Too Faced Pores Be Gone primer. If I need something that's going to fill my pores, I use that primer. So essentially, First Aid Beauty primers replaced Becca primers for me. If you guys need a good primer, I highly recommend any of the primers from First Aid Beauty. They're really good. Okay, let's talk about an OG tried and true palette for me. I have been obsessed with the Tartelette and Bloom palette again for years. This was one of my first high-end palettes that I ever purchased. I had one from MAC. I can't remember. Maybe it was like the Warm Neutrals. It had like 15 shades. I used that one all the time. And I also used my Naked palettes all the time. Naked 2, not Naked palettes. I just had the Naked 2. And then after those two palettes, this was like the third high-end palette that I ever purchased. So this has a special place in my heart. As you can see, I have Pan in 4 shades. So this palette has gotten a lot of love, and what I really love about this palette, I still love this palette, it's just my love for it has been somewhat diminished by a couple others I'm going to talk about. But what I loved about this is that it was so user-friendly. If you aren't that artistically creative, or if you struggle when you look into a palette to kind of know like what you're going to do, this is just laid out in a way that makes it very easy for the user to create looks, and I just loved this palette. But this palette has been replaced, so I just want one more time to look at this. I love that this offers the cool toned row, a neutral row, and then also a warm toned row of shadows. So this has been replaced by 2 palettes, but both from the same brand, both my Persona Identity palette and my Identity 2. So I love the Identity palette for its take on, again, kind of cool and warm tone shadows mixed together, and the shimmers in this palette are truly incredible. You definitely do not need any sort of wet brush with this, and you are going to get such a high impact foiled shine. This is such a stunning and underrated palette in my opinion. I still feel like not enough people talk about this. And then last year they released the Identity 2, which looks like this. Definitely more of a colorful palette and more warmer toned, but I love this because it just offers, this is like a wearable colorful palette in my opinion. Like, you still have your neutral shades up here and your brown here that you can create just a really beautiful like warm smoky brown eye, which is what I love. If I can create a brown neutral to warm smoky look from a palette, like an everyday wear to work look, I'm good with that. I usually do smoky eyes, so I'm extra at work. I definitely do a smoky eye. Like, I'll start out being like, I'm just gonna do a really light brown eye look, and then it ends up being like this blown out smoky look every time. But what I was trying to say is I can do work appropriate, like wear to work appropriate looks, but then you have these fun pops of color as well. And honestly, the colors are super wearable. The shades in here are super wearable. You can use a fluffier brush and just diffuse it all over the eye. Any of the colorful shades in here, I find that you can do that with, and it's not, you're not gonna look like editorial per se. So just a really fun one. I like to pair these two together. These two obviously pair together really well too. And I definitely feel as though these two have replaced my Tartelette in Bloom. I definitely reach for these over this quite a bit. This next one, the replacement item is a newer find, but my goodness, when you know, you just know, right? So I have been on a journey to find the perfect concealer for me, and up until January of this year, I felt as though the closest thing to the perfect concealer for me was the Laura Mercier Ultra Longwear Concealer, the Flawless Fusion Concealer. Now, I still really like this concealer. This is a really nice, sort of light to medium coverage concealer. It has a nice bendy doe foot. This is a really nice concealer, and honestly, this is something that I would still like to keep in my collection. But if I could only keep one concealer, I would hands down keep the Hourglass Vanish concealer. I have it in the shade Cream, which I believe is the second lightest shade, which works really well for me. This is a beautiful, hydrating, yet full coverage concealer that just brightens underneath the eyes, gives this seamless effect that I just absolutely love. Definitely offers more coverage than the Laura Mercier one. That's why I feel like I still want both in my collection. But while I used to reach for this one all the time, I find myself just always wanting to reach for this one now, and this one has been getting neglected. So this has definitely replaced my Laura Mercier concealer. Okay, let's talk about bronzer. So one of my favorite bronzers, if not my favorite bronzer in the past, was the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. That is a bronzer I had planned on replacing. I finished mine up towards the end of last year in a project pan. But unfortunately, just due to some of the shady nature of Physicians Formula, if you guys have not heard, they were selling products kind of secretively in China, so they are no longer considered to be cruelty-free. And while I'm not a cruelty-free channel, I just don't like the shadiness behind that. Therefore, I don't really feel like I want to support Physicians Formula anymore. Same thing with Wet n Wild. Again, I'm not a cruelty-free channel, but the shadiness behind everything like that, like if you're cruelty-free, why are you, I get from the business perspective, like I'm sure it's to make more money. It's just shady though, and I don't like that. And I also know that Physicians Formula is the parent company of Wet n Wild, so it's not surprising that this happened. But regardless, I would have had to have found a replacement for the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, but I had already found that as of last year, and it is the Cover FX Monochromatic Blush. I have mine in the shade Sunkissed Bronze. So this is what this looks like. This is such an amazing bronzer and bronzer formula. It blends so easily. It is very pigmented, so I would say if you're super fair, I would be very careful and go in with like a super light hand or a very like large fluffy brush. But I love that you have the matte side, which is the side that gets the most love for me. But then in the summertime, I was also layering it with the like shimmery topper. I don't really like to use just the shimmery side on its own. That's just not like my makeup vibes, but I do think that this pairs beautifully, obviously on top of the matte side, especially in the summer if you're looking for more of like a summer glow, etc. So this had definitely already replaced the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer for me, but thank goodness, because there's some shady stuff going on. Next up, I have a setting mist, and I actually don't have the old setting mist that this new setting mist has replaced, but I used to absolutely love the Pixie Glow Mist. But when I got through like my third bottle of it, I started to not love it as much as I once did. I felt like I was always going too heavy with it, and I was always kind of looking like a grease ball. And last summer I tried this out for the first time. This is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Ultra Fine Mist, and now I have a second bottle. I finished off the other bottle, and I absolutely love this. This is beautiful. It's definitely going to give you that glow that the Pixie Glow Mist gives you. You can go too heavy-handed with this one as well, but it's a little bit harder just because the mist on this is so fine that it sort of just like disperses the product out a little bit more evenly and a little bit better, and I just love the effect that this gives to the skin. This has a very light watermelon scent to it, but it goes away very quickly, and I really have been enjoying this one from Glow Recipe. Definitely replaced my Pixie Glow Mist. I have another palette to talk about. The Soft Glam has been a favorite of mine since it released. I absolutely love this palette, and I still do, and I feel like you guys already know what I'm going to talk about as my replacement palette. This is such a beautiful warm tone brown palette, such a beautiful selection of warm mattes, and then I absolutely love the shimmers as well. Still remains a favorite palette of mine. However, it has been replaced, or I find myself favoriting this one more, wanting to reach for this one more than the Soft Glam, and it is the ABH and Jackie collab. I mentioned this in a video before where I said you still get like your warm matte browns that I love out of the Soft Glam, with the exception of the only one it doesn't offer that I love out of the Soft Glam is this Mulberry shade. I just love that shade, and you don't really have that shade in here. But within this, you have these beautiful shimmers scattered throughout. The sponsored shade that you just can't not mention when you're talking about this palette. But also, like, Lituation is this really cool, I don't even know how to describe this shade. It's like a taupey purple, and it is absolutely stunning. I just cannot say enough good things about this palette. I feel like I talk about this palette all the time on my channel. I feel like a broken record, but this definitely replaced the Soft Glam for me. Next, I have a foundation to talk about, and one of my absolute favorite foundations of all time was the Dior Forever foundation, and then they have either repackaged or reformulated or just extended the line, but now they have like the Dior Forever matte, and they also have the Dior Forever dewy or glow, I can't remember what it's called. I repurchased the glow because I do really like a glowy look, or like a natural luminous look, so I wanted to see how that one compared to the old Dior Forever. But what I loved about that Dior Forever is that it left the skin just looking like with this satin matte sort of finish, but still very natural, and that foundation lasted all day and your skin was just looking beautiful all day long. I still need to purchase the new like matte version just to see if it's like the same as that old one, but in its place, I have replaced it with the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. This I have owned. This I think is my third or fourth bottle. I purchased mine in the shade Almond, which is, I've tried it in like 3 or 4 different shades, and Almond seems to be the best shade match for me thus far in my journey of trying like a million different shades. But this kind of does that same thing that the Dior Forever does, where it leaves the skin with just this beautiful satin matte finish that still looks very natural. And if you pair it with glowier products, you can still have this very natural, luminous, healthy glow to the skin that I just love. So even though I wasn't necessarily trying to replace my Dior Forever foundation, I kind of had to, just because I don't know if that product still exists. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but this one is the closest that I have found to that foundation, and I love this foundation. I had already loved this foundation, but because I don't have a different foundation in my collection, this is the foundation in my collection that does the closest thing in relation to what that Dior one used to do. So that is why this has replaced the Dior one. Or I hope I'm not just rambling, and I hope I'm making sense. Okay, 2 more products to get through. A mascara that I used to love was the Essence Lash Princess mascara. I really liked, I think it was the pink one that was like the volume. I had gone through multiple of the green tubes too. I really just liked the Lash Princess line, and I used to be a huge proponent on only buying drugstore mascara because I just didn't think it was worth the investment for a higher end mascara. But with me and my mascara like preferences, or like just makeup vibes, I like to layer my mascaras. Therefore, sometimes I'm cool with buying a mini size of a high-end mascara because I'm paying about the same, maybe a little bit more, but relatively the same as a drugstore mascara. And I usually am not finishing up a full-size drugstore mascara in the amount of time before I have to throw it away because I'm layering mascaras. So while I used to love the Essence Lash Princess Volume Effect, I have since replaced it, and I haven't purchased that one in such a long time, with the NARS Climax Mascara. I find that the 2 of them do relatively the same thing. So if you are looking for a less expensive version of the NARS Climax, I would recommend that Essence one. It's only like $4.99 or $5.99, and I believe the mini for the NARS is $11. But I really love this NARS Climax. I was a little bit undecided on this mascara at first, but the more I use it, the more I love it. I really love the wand on this, and I just feel like this does so much for volume for my lashes. This plus the Milk Kush mascara plus the Hourglass Caution. Those three are like the trifecta of mascara perfection. But if I'm thinking about that Essence mascara specifically, this would definitely be a replacement product for that. Like, I will always purchase this over that Essence one, and I feel like they give similar effects, but I just prefer the NARS to the Essence personally, so I'm willing to pay like double the price to get the NARS. But really have been enjoying this one from NARS. Okay, and then the final product that I have to talk about is a highlighter. This Dior highlighter used to be one of my absolute favorite highlighters. I think probably because it was one of the most luxurious products that I had in my makeup collection, and I knew how much money I spent on this, and boy, I just loved it. I still do enjoy this highlighter. I think it's nice, but I have replaced it with a different pink toned highlighter in my collection. So this is in the shade 2, this one from Dior. I'm gonna try my best. Where can I swatch? We're gonna go down the arm. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see. There it is. This is a really icy pink highlighter, and I do love me a pink highlighter, but this has been replaced by my Becca Rose Quartz highlighter, and this is what Becca Rose Quartz looks like, and I want to swatch the two side by side and kind of explain. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see or tell, but the Becca Rose Quartz highlight is definitely more of like a warmer pink highlight, and almost has like, I don't want to say a coral shift, but it is definitely more of a warmer pink highlight, whereas the Dior one is more of an icy pink. And I have just really been preferring a warmer pink highlight because I feel like it gives this flush to the cheeks that almost makes you have this sort of sunburned glow to the skin. And I don't know what it is about that look, but I have just been die hard for it since like last spring, and I just cannot get enough. So I definitely, anytime I am reaching for a pink highlighter, I swear I'm reaching for this. Even when I'm trying to cycle through my other pink highlighters, I just always fall back to this. I am currently trying to pan this in my 20 and 2020, but I also have this same highlighter in a face palette of mine, and this is definitely something I would purchase in a full size if by some miracle I got through both of those. But when we're talking about pink highlighters, the Becca Rose Quartz definitely replaced my Dior shade number 2. And after that, that is going to conclude all of the products, all of my old Holy Grails that have since been replaced. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. What Holy Grails have you replaced and with what products? Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and supporting my channel, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.